So many times the root of our suffering is because we're trying to control stuff that is beyond our capabilities of controlling. And that's what we're going to be talking about this week on episode number 64 of The Relaxed Male. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Male, a podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies. Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Male. All right, this is our Frozen edition. Holy smokes, I don't know. I know that we're supposed to try to keep this evergreen and timeless, but got to talk a little bit about wow. I bet you a lot of people are realizing today that they are able to withstand a lot more than they thought. America itself has been gripped in a super cold spell that has seen down over here in Oklahoma, we've been in the negatives for a couple days in a row, where all day long it was like -6, -8. It was some cold stuff. And then add to the fact that my house has got the R factor of a freaking colander. I mean, holy smokes, man. We have just been flat out chilled for the past week and a half, around here. I know that Houston has just gotten slammed with ice. I'm seeing East Texas is getting smacked with a good ice storm right now. And apparently this cold wave is heading east and is leaving. And we're supposed to be back in the 60s come about the end of next week, or beginning of this week to the end of this week, depending on how well Mother Nature wants to cooperate. So, but wow, talk about realizing what you can stand is. Not that I liked it. I mean, my house typically was floating around about, upper 40s to mid 50s most of the time. We don't have central heat in this house. So we have a wood stove and a couple of space heaters that, we keep good eye on to make sure that the plug-ins are staying healthy. So, this has definitely been a cold session to beat most cold sessions. I am so glad I don't live up around South Dakota or even North Dakota or any of those places. Holy smokes. This has been one chilly session. I could really do with some of that global warming right now. But anyhow, this whole instance just went to show how much we can withstand. And once we get done with it and we get out of this cold snap and we get back up to normal temps, you'll be a lot more grateful for those warm temperatures, that sun on your face. I actually went outside and spent about 30 minutes outdoors. It's I can tell you what the temp is real quick. According to AccuWeather, right now we are running at a balmy 11 degrees. So we are above the 0 degree mark and got hardly any wind blowing. Went tromping around in the snow with my son's Pooch and just had a good time watching him just get the zoomies. He's been pinned up in the house for I don't know, 5-6 days or so. And he'd go outside to use the bathroom and that was it. He would come back in and just want to play. He had so much energy and didn't know what to do with it. And now he got himself out and we made 2 laps around the house and we got a storage shed our storage, buildings that are close to the house and we circled around those and he jumped and dove and crashed through, snow drifts and it was a lot of fun to laugh and watch him. So it was good. It was a good day. The sun is out. It is shining. Our roof is shedding snow quite quickly. So But there's always things to be grateful for, especially when you're going through those trying times like this really cold weather. I know a lot of people have had pipes freeze and burst. I think the Homeland, which is the grocery store over in the town next to me, they had their I'm assuming it must have been their fire system. They had a pipe rupture in there and just flood the whole area. There's pictures of people's apartments with water just raining down out of the lights. It's a big mess, and granted, the plumbers are going to be making bank for the next month or so. But wow, it has been this has been a fun, interesting, trying time. It's lets you know that you can survive that. I may even have to start trying out get myself a little more into the uncomfortable areas of cold and see how that works. And now let's go ahead and let's jump on into the show. This week, we've got a question of the week. Now, the question of the week is brought to you by the Brotherhood of Men. This is a men's group that I put together to help men who are struggling with a myriad of different things. If you're suffering, not suffering, but you're going through a divorce and you're trying to figure out where do you start trying to put your life back together now that your marriage has fallen apart. Where do you start? What do you do? Things like that. What the group is nothing more than men helping each other become the greatest man that they possibly can be. That sounds a little salesy. I agree, but we incorporate the actual mastermind principles where we are set to help each other. It's not just me standing there, expounding, bits of knowledge to a problem and things like that. It can be we have a small group, it may just be you and me. If you're in one of the groups that doesn't have anybody in there yet, I got 4 groups that'll actually put together, and a couple of them don't have anybody in there yet. I'm trying to get some of the other groups together and really get a vibrant community, and the rest will actually come following in. But with the groups that way, we do meet on a regular basis. We help lift each other up. Y'all are actually even helping me a little bit as I try to help y'all, and everybody else in the group actually gets together and we all help each other to become better. We lift each other, support each other. We call out each other's excuses. We hold each other accountable. And that's what this group does, is it gives you the why. It keeps you from feeling like you're alone in the world trying to accomplish some great and huge Herculean task. We actually can and do help you to become that man that you dream. We help you find refind your dream that you had when you were a child and that you tucked away, hid it in the back of the corners of your mind because somebody in your life probably told you that you weren't good at writing. But yet, for some reason, you always wanted to write, but you've always been told you stink as a writer. Well, we can help you with that. We can help nurture that dream to come back out and embrace the light and live your life to the potential that it actually has. So if you're interested, please go over to relaxmel.com/brotherhood, and we can help you get back on your feet, get you moving down the path that you want to do. So with that, the question of the week, if you're interested in actually sending me a question, you can do so by going over to relaxmel.com/contact. And there you can actually leave a message in the form. I will receive that message and answer it here on the show. If you happen to have a website, leave the URL for your site, and I will actually link to it. That way you get a little bit of something. People can go to your site and things like that. I have no problem helping other folks to reach their goals. And if you're wanting to have more people to your site and more people to see your products and services, sweet. I'd love helping you do that. If you don't want to go to relaxmel.com/contact, you can also send me an email by typing in the address of Brian with a Y at relaxmel.com. Ask a question, send it to me. And again, I'll read it aloud on the show. So with that, This week's question is actually on Quora.com, and I use Quora as the fallback, as my backup for if I don't receive a question, and didn't see one this week. So we are now over asking, what's the best way of handling a teenager's mood swing? And this was actually asked by Felicia Orcoro. And that is such a question, especially if for those of us who have gone through the teenagers. We call terrible twos, or we call the 2-year-olds terrible. No, they're figuring out that they actually have a will. Teenagers realize they have a will and they want to exercise that will. And a lot of times, but on top of exercising that will, they also want to mix emotions into that will. And so it can be quite a roller coaster ride of just having a kid who is often perceived as being manic depressant or something, when in all reality, no, they're not. They aren't manic depressants. They are just trying to figure out their emotions. They've got their hormones just going bonkers. And so, yeah, you've got, the need to and want to find a girlfriend or boyfriend. And then at the same time realizing that they're not the center of the universe, and they're trying to hold on to that fact, that security, that comfort of being the center of the universe. And so it becomes this big ball of emotions. So how do you handle the mood swings of a teenager? Well, it's tough. It is doable. I'll let you know on that one. It is actually doable. So many adults have survived their teenagers, and the fact that we have people still still living and becoming young adults, proves that, teenagers do survive their tumultuous teenage years. The problem that comes in, though, is that teenagers, like I said, they're very self-oriented. It's all about them. They're figuring out that, holy crow, there's a world around them and there's other people, and their actions affect those people at the same time. But they don't, and sadly our schools and as parents do fail them in helping them understand what their emotions are. What are they really? Because so many times the teenagers and adults too run around thinking that their emotions are something that just happens to them. You made me mad. You are not making me happy. I haven't been happy around you in so many months. I want a divorce. There's all these things where the adults have a hard time grasping where emotions come from. And emotions come from a thought. You have a thought, something happens, you have a circumstance, that circumstance creates a thought, and that thought becomes an emotion. And so many times our teenagers especially when you have sad events happen, a breakup of a boyfriend or girlfriend, a friend who has betrayed you, things like that. There are a lot of those times where it becomes sad, or they become so engrossed in feeling nervous that they think that they need to be running out and running around with a whole bunch of other people, and they don't get invited to a party or something like that, and so they think there's something wrong with them. And again, that's just they're figuring out that high school is very high school, and a lot of people these days just sadly, they don't want their teenager to feel sad. They don't want their teenager to feel discomfort. And so they wrap them up and don't allow them to become the humans that they are desperately desiring to become. So when it comes to emotions, they don't know how to handle those emotions. They don't deal with those emotions. They just simmer in those and and get thought loop errors going over and over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden you've got kids running around thinking that they've been traumatized because they had a breakup. Well, okay, it might be slightly traumatic in the immediate scheme of things. But, any adult who these days sees a breakup, it's like, well, dude, you're going to go through another 30 of them before you graduate from high school. So why are you worrying? It's not that bad. And that's kind of how we think. And that's kind of how we approach it. And sadly, teenagers don't want to understand that. So what parents need to start doing is, one, stop being a parent to a teenager. All right. Yeah. You're going to have to hold them accountable if they do something that is wrong. being the parent and the overlord of them stopped about the time they turned 12, 13 years old. This is when us parents actually need to transition into our next role. And our next role is actually just to be a mentor. Yeah, we want to sit there and lord over them and have them, make them get good grades. Well, no. Why are we worrying about them having good grades? It's not going to reflect upon them at all. We know dang good and well that perfect high school marks does nothing for you in the adult world. I don't know a single company that looks at your high school transcript. Now, to get into, want them to have a great grades to get into college. Well, why do you want them in college? Would be the next question I actually ask. And these, a lot of times, the reason why we lord over our kids and we force them to be in all these different sports and we force them to get good grades and we force them to do this and we force them to do that is strictly out of the fact that we want to be able to brag about them. Yeah, I would love to be able to brag about my son. I would love to be able to brag about my daughter. I would love to be able to brag, and I do. Are either one of them college graduates? No, my daughter's, she's working on it. But right now, no, she's about 4 years behind. She had to find out why she wanted to go to college first. My son went to college for a couple of semesters and quickly realized, you know what? College is not for me. Now he's kind of talking about going back to school again. So I think he may want to try, he's getting around to want to develop a different skill. And that's great. But it's not my responsibility to make sure that he does something that makes me proud. And that's a lot of times that's where us parents go wrong. We get wrapped up into the emotions of making sure that our kid has straight A students and gets perfect marks and is going to Harvard and all these other things. And honestly, none of that matters a freaking piss in the wind, really. We are so wrapped up in what our egos are that we don't even bother to make sure that our kids can actually navigate their emotional life in a healthy manner. And so you see a lot of the kids these days who are just doing nothing but stressing about their anxiety. And you've got the end disease these days is mental health and mental anxiety. And I'm sorry, but no, we're not all freaking crazy. We all look at stuff differently. But no, I think the mental health on an average is all average human being as well. Are there those who suffer from mental health, suffer from depression, suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder? Yeah, but I don't think near as many people suffer from it as what society wants us to think. We got PTSD groups for people who have had, emotional breakups. Again, no, if you were in a traumatic instance where your mother was killed in a car wreck, okay, yeah, you may have PTSD. If you're in the military and in a war, yeah, there's a good chance you may have a little bit of PTSD sitting around in your head somewhere. If you got a failing grade at school, no, that is not a traumatic instant. And I realize that seems, it sounds like I'm going down a whole bunch of different little rabbit trails, and kind of I am, but I'm saying this as a means to, I'm trying to make the point that sadly, most of the time, we don't have to cater to what our teenager thinks they need to have. As a matter of fact, it's actually better if you let them struggle a little bit, struggle with things. We make it such a point to give them the latest iPhone and things like that. It actually doesn't hurt them and actually does them a big, huge favor if we were to actually just let them take the hard route, save up for, something where they do like a 501 dad, where if they want a car, you'll pitch in half of it, but they got to come up with the other half. So if they only come up with $1,000, then they're only getting a $2,000 car. But again, also you want to, if you start that up with the oldest one, just know that the youngest one is going to catch wind of it and figure out real quick that, hey, if I can save up $40,000, I can get an $80,000 car. So if you do that, and make sure that you do a limit on what the vehicle is. But either way, but you do your kids so much more of a favor to let them actually struggle. I know it sounds mean. It sounds horrible using that word, but that's the best word to use is let them struggle. Let them figure it out. And you can help them figure it out, especially when it comes to the emotional angle, by helping them talk it through. Help them understand how to do the thought work. So if you're sitting there and they're crying, ask them, so where are you feeling the sadness at? And they're going to look at you kind of funny the first time that you ask them. And it's like, well, where are you feeling it in your shoulders? Because whenever I'm sad, a lot of times I've got this really heavy area just over on the lower left-hand side of my body. I don't know why my throat gets really crampy almost. And it's, whenever I'm sad about something, I feel these, and I talk them through that emotion, get them to explain what they're actually physically feeling, to understand that an emotion is nothing more than a vibration they feel through their body. So if they can sit there and realize, I am sad. Oh my gosh, my boyfriend just broke up with me. What am I going to do? They can sit there and start thinking about where that emotion is. And the more they think about it, the more that emotion is able to live its life through, and it eventually will disappear. Now, there's times you're going to have another thought about, that breakup, and you're going to be sad again, but you can process it a lot faster and a lot easier. And so, it may grab from time to time. It's kind of like whenever I lost my dad. I mean, there was times, 8 years ago or, 2 years ago, my dad had passed, and it was about 8 years since his passing at that time. And I was fiddling around on Google Maps and came across my dad's house on Street View, and I could see his golf cart was still sitting there, and the garage door was open, and I could almost see my dad in the garage working on something. Talk about it as my dad snuck up on me now, where you get a little choked up. You feel sad, but I was able to process it through and actually take that thought and turn it into something positive. I got to know that wonderful man that's known as my dad. And so helping your teenagers through those tumultuous emotional periods happen easier when you're actually able to show them how to process those emotions, and that you aren't getting involved in their dramas. So, and that's the big thing I would also add is when your teenager is going through a huge emotional, tempest, and the drama is being poured on really thick, stay calm, stay assertive, and don't fall into their drama trap, because they love to draw you into the drama trap. They may do it by trying to draw you in by attacking you, emotionally attacking you. You don't care about me, or whatever. So Bobby's parents let them, those are all, drama traps to get you to flare your emotions up. So they feel like their emotions are justified. If other people are high emotion, then they have a reason to be high emotion too. And if you can stay calm, they get real mad at the fact that they can't manipulate you in that way. But eventually they figure out, well, I can't go to stir mom up because mom's just doesn't have it. She just listens and explains what's going on, and I feel better afterwards. But but they end up also seeing you as a emotional mooring buoy in the midst of the storm. They can tie themselves to that and lash themselves to that rock, and they know that they're going to be safe. They're going to be stable. You're the stable one of the family. And that helps them out tremendously also. All right. So now let's go on to the main topic that we have today. And that is, what can you actually control? Well, you can't control your teenager. That's for darn sure. You can try, but you're not going to. And yet like your teenager, when you try to control them, it causes so much more suffering, not just on them, but on you. You're up at nights because they're out running around. The more you try to press down on them and tell them they can't go out, guess what? The more they're going to go out. Why is that? Why? Because, well, we're trying to control something that is beyond our means of control. There are things that we can control, and there are things we can't control. And when we don't control things, that's where our suffering comes into place. When we try to control things that are beyond our control, that's where our anger comes in. That's where our fear really starts to boil, because all of a sudden we can't control something. So I'm out of control. And if I'm out of control, we start getting this thought loop going on, and it just spirals into chaos. And it's because we are trying so desperately to control something that we have no ability to control. Like I said, we do have things we can control. And those things that we can't control kind of boiled down into 3 different categories. You can control your actions, you can control your thoughts, and you can control your emotions. So if you are in a marriage and you just had your soon to be ex-wife come to you with divorce papers saying she wants a divorce, she wants you out of here, and she's going to take everything that you worked hard for, and you never supported her in anything, and starts laying everything onto you. You have a choice to act on how you're going to act. You can either choose to be a pain in the ass and start being a jerk right back. You can choose to be strong and be able to listen to what she has to say. What she says are lies and what's our truth. And you can take the actions onto what happens to you. Now she can try doing things to you. She can say bad things about you. She can make comments about how it's your fault, how you were an abusive spouse, and she can make up lies all she wants. You have no control on stopping her from making lies. But you do have the choice to either act out on those, or you can choose to act calmly and let the truth shine free. Yeah, there's going to be maybe a year, 2 years where people are going to, kind of look at you like, how could you beat your wife like that? And I didn't. But you can stand firm on your knowledge of what is actually true. And if you stand firm on that, no matter what she says or what your teenager does or what lies are said about you at work, none of those will stick. People will initially react, emotionally react to that news. I mean, if you heard that your neighbor was beating on their wife, you would stay away from the guy for a bit, but eventually they would realize he doesn't have a violent bone in his body. So why would he abuse his wife? And when you have your life still together and afterwards, after the divorce, ex-wife's life has just crumbled to pieces and has gone through 2 other divorces, things start to show through. You can show your actions are things that you can actually control. You can control taking a breath. Things are getting really stressful at work. You can stop and okay, let's do this again. You can take a deep breath. You can calm yourself. You have that ability to do that. You can, how you hold yourself. Are you standing with confidence, or are you all balled up trying to make yourself as small as possible? That's something that's in your control. That has influence on how other people partake in their judgment of you. If you're sitting there and you're looking as confident as possible, people are going to take you to be a lot more confident than what you may actually feel on the inside. You can actually take control of those actions. You can choose how you want to lead. Do you want to be a bully, do you want to be the boss, or do you want to be a leader? Do you want to help your crew and your team to become the best at whatever the industry you're in? You can choose whether you give shoddy work or you do incredibly above average work. That's something that's in your control. Something happens. You have the ability to take responsibility for your actions. What was your part in that scenario? What was your part in that reason why your wife wanted a divorce? A lot of guys go, oh, I don't know, I didn't do anything. Well, dude, I bet you did a lot more than what you think. You probably were coming home, sitting down, watching television instead of being a husband. Well, I'm tired. I worked hard. And she didn't. A housewife works a hell of a lot harder than what you want to think. I've been there. I've seen what the work is. Yeah, it looks like, well, all they do is sit around the house. Well, no, there's a lot more. There's cooking, cleaning, and sometimes they don't clean. Sometimes they don't cook. And you think, well, what do they do all day? Well, they did other things, but you weren't being husband by coming in and just starting to complain to her. It would have been better if you had been a husband and just, yeah, sucks that she didn't get the dishes done. So why don't you go do the dishes? There's things like that. You have the ability to control how you respond in a marriage. You have the ability to respond to how things are to be done. And it's not by lording over your wife or lording over your kids, because those are things that are beyond your control. So your thoughts, you have your integrity, everything that you think, your gratitude, how grateful you are about everything that happens to you. You have your thoughts of what makes you happy, sad, angry, indifferent. All those are things that are within your control. You have that ability to control your thoughts. And because you control your thoughts, you are able to control your emotions. Now, I'm not saying stuffing the thoughts that are bad away, because keeping those thoughts unprocessed does not help you. It creates problems with you, and they creep back up, and they need to be processed. And to take the time to go ahead and actually process them would do you a whole lot more of it's better to have a quick rip of a Band-Aid than to sit there and leave a wound festering. You have to process those things. And those are things that you can actually control. You can control whether you're happy. You control whether you're sad, angry, how grateful you feel. You can choose to look at a situation as a learning situation, or you can look at it as the most devastating, life-ending, catastrophic event that you had. Or you can choose to take the pieces that have from the wreckage of whatever happened and rebuild and make it better. Those are things you have control of. You have a lot of control, but it's only over yourself. Things you do not have control of, you have no control over your environment. Proof in point. America is in a huge cold snap right now. Other people. This does include your kids. You do not have control over your kids. Try telling them, don't touch the stove. It's hot. Well, guess what eventually they're going to do? They're going to have to touch that stove and find out, oh, wait, that thing's hot. You told them. Yeah, you would like for them not to go through the pain and the suffering of learning that a hot stove is hot. But most of the time, that's the only way they will understand, because you're just telling them, don't, it's hot. Instead of going through, especially when you've got a tween, and sitting down and actually explaining to them the reasons why things are done, you get a lot further down the road if you explain to them why things are done in a particular way, as opposed to just saying, because I'm the parent. The other thing you can't control is the actions of other people. Like I said, if your soon-to-be ex-wife is sitting there spreading rumors about you, you have no control over that. People may decide to come ask you, hey, is this true or is this true? And you can then have a chance to state your side of the case. But then you can't control whether or not people are actually going to even come ask you. They may just go ahead and rule in the court of public opinion, and you never had your day in court. It happens. You've got to learn how to handle that and deal with it and carry on. Deal with what you are able to control, your integrity. You're able to control your actions. You can control your happiness. Your ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or boss can try to do everything they can to make you miserable, but you have the choice to be able to say, you know what? Oh, well, that's your thoughts. Those are your impressions. That's your reality. That's a really sad reality to be in, but okay, if that's what you like and it floats your boat, okay, go for it, dude. Knowing what you can control and you can't control frees you. Frees you in so many ways, because you're now not trying to fight against something that is an immovable object. And you now can understand that people who try to manipulate you and try to control you, guess what, dude? They have no control over you. They can't make you think something you don't want to think. They can't make you say something that you don't believe. And when doing so, all of a sudden, all the anxiety that you have built up drifts away. All the stress of trying to figure out how to control something that you can't control goes away. And it allows you to be free. So step away from the controls that are that have locked you out, because you're not ever going to be able to get into those controls. You're not ever going to be able to make somebody feel happy. You're not ever going to be able to make a person who wants to be sad, wants to be miserable. You're not going to be able to make them happy. You're not going to be able to help them see the joy in life until they decide that they want to see it. So if you are someone who wants to get out of trying to control other people, the Brotherhood of Men is a great group that can help you do that. We can help change that mindset so that you are embracing what you can control and ignoring the stuff that you can't. Yeah, it may be something that's important, but in the grand scheme of things, all you can do is handle the things that you can actually control. And so I invite you to go over to relaxedmale.com/brotherhood and fill out the application. There's nothing to fill, no cost to fill out the application and to set up an interview. And once we get finished talking, I can find out whether, you're a good fit for the company, good fit for the group, or if maybe, there's somebody else, another group that might fit you even better. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you taking the time listening. If you like this show, I do want to make a quick ask, in that you go to relaxedmale.com/podchaser. That's PODCHASER, and leave a rating or review. Or if you want, somebody who this episode really could impact, share that out with them. Shoot it to them. Send the link to them through a messenger. Share it onto your Facebook page, your Twitter page. Send it out to those who would be impacted, or if you know somebody who might benefit from this. Help us grow the group even more. Is the only biggest payment that I really want for this show, is just to help grow more, a bigger group, so that the men who it benefits can become a confident man, and to be able to take their lives and lead their lives in a way that will just impress the importance of masculinity on those around them. So with that, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you again for listening. Y'all take care. See you next week. Bye.